So hi, I'm back, and it's Fia, by the way, as you didn't know. So my roads are dry, and I'm gonna get up a bit closer, show you some of the texture. I think they turned out pretty good. But now we're on to the next step, and this next step, these are gonna need to dry for a couple of days. The next thing I'm doing. For my next step, I have these two carts. This is a cart I made myself, and it can fit a horse in front. And this is a foreground cart I bought a long time ago. That I'm gonna use to measure out the width of the tires approximately. I'm gonna need the roads, I'm gonna need some palette knives, probably like a brush or something. I'm gonna need some caulking. I'm gonna use, this is a really fine bird sand, and this is a little rougher bird sand, and this has like, both of them has like shells and stuff in them, and I'm gonna need some brown paint. So I'm gonna start by getting some caulking out on my palette. And I'm gonna do all my roads, of course. Get the caulking out of the way. Get some paint. That should be enough. And I'm gonna start getting my bigger palette knife and mixing this together first of all. Get some nice color in it, and as I explained in the first part, the coloring and stuff I do is mainly so I do not have to like if I miss a spot when I paint them and stuff, I don't have to go back and like color it in again. I think I'm gonna add some black to this actually to get it to darken up a bit. Because I want a pretty, this is going to become like dirt and mud and stuff. So I want a pretty dark under color. Now we got something looking more like chocolate mousse or something. So I'm gonna spread this out a bit like so, and I'm firstly gonna add my fine sand, and as you see I add quite a lot of sand. These containers are not, the sand tends to spread, especially the fine sand. And this is to give this texture. So what I'm essentially making is a texture modeling paste. And I don't have a recipe, and this is not like acid free, I think, or anything. But I use this technique for mixed media and stuff as well. And now you see we have a bit of a gritty texture, which is kind of cool. And you can hear it. And I'm gonna add some more. And you see this fine sand also has a bit of bigger pieces in it. But now I'm also gonna add some of the bigger stuff, which is still a pretty fine grade sand. But it's very much, the first one is like finer than salt. It's like really nice, soft beach sand. And you don't want to lose adhesion with this. So I might have to go in and add some more caulking, which I think I will. And you kind of get the hang of it, how it needs to look after a while. I've never had a problem with this losing adhesion, so and I'm just adding a little bit more paint since I added more caulking as well, and also to get a bit more flow on this. And when I use this for bases and stuff. I might be able to show you actually after I've done this, if I remember, to like cover up broccoli bases and stuff, and to get a nice base to put other stuff like turf stuff on, like static grass and stuff. Okay, so this is done, and you see it's a kind of poo consistency. Pretty hard chocolate mousse also. So there we go. I'm gonna get some figures and I'm gonna show you how I use this stuff. Okay, so I've gotten some figures, and here you see this is a Reaper Bones figure. And as you can see, to this I add wood glue to get it to adhere to the base better. And I usually prime my miniatures and then glue them on the base, prime them, and then I put the basing stuff on just so it's nice and dry and hard. And you see you get a nice texture. And I'm going to show you here. This is one, it's not varnished yet, that I just finished, and you don't see a lot of it. Usually I have bases where I show much more of it, but it gives a nice texture to put more on it. And if something shows, I paint this and dry brush it and stuff, it looks like dirt or stone or whatever you want it to look like. So now we got that, and I'm just gonna get a baby wipe and wipe off my tool. So it doesn't get stuck on it, because that would suck. And I'm gonna get a pretty rough Bristol paintbrush. I think I'm gonna use one of these that has hog's hair, because they are nice and stiff, I think. Get another one. Okay, so now I have my goo or mud or dirt ready to go, and this will dry a little bit darker when it's dry. So now I'm gonna take my road, get some of the excess sand off my sheet, and a sip of coffee. It's super hot here today, but I still need my coffee. And I'm gonna check about how it will look on these. Sorry, I was out of frame. So I'm gonna look. So this one, the wheel tracks would be like on the edges almost, and this one it would be more on the inside. So okay, I'm just gonna get into it and start building up some mud. since this is gonna be a road that's gonna be used, and you have pretty good working time, of course, depending on where you live in the world. Today is also pretty like moist day, so I'm just covering up some of my, let's see, I'm gonna zoom you in a bit. I'm gonna cover up part of my stoneworks in different places, so it looks like a road that actually is in use. But as you can see, I'm trying to keep some thickness towards where the wheel marks would be. So I'm gonna go through the whole, and here, through the whole tile, road tile, and just keep adding it like this to start. And I'm gonna do one tile at a time, but I'm gonna do all my tiles. And this will also be so like I can put like grass tufts and stuff on this afterwards. And here I'm trying also to remember, I'm gonna use these tiles and just put them up against each other to make sure that they still kind of match. I'm not super, like, it doesn't have to match exactly. It doesn't really matter to me. Then, first of all, I'm gonna take my palette knife, and I'm using one of these that looks like almost a triangle or a drop form. So the tip is pretty narrow. So I'm using it at an angle. And I'm just scraping marks into this. And I'm gonna scrape marks in several places. This makes it easier to make sure that these can be butted up against each other more easily without it being having to be exactly also, but also looks like it's used by different sizes of carts. And I'm trying to remember or keep in mind how wide the wheel sets were on different carts. And I'm just wiping the excess that I get off of this onto back to my palette, so I'm not gonna waste it. And you're not gonna use a ton of this, but I just keep it as long as you haven't added an extra white glue in it, because that kind of sets over time. I just have it in a jar, airtight jar, and I keep using it over and over again. And as you can see, I'm removing a lot of it because I don't want like big lumps of it, but I want some texture of it. But I need the beginning to be kind of thick so that I can carve into it. And also so I have some room to play where I carve it. So I can move it around a bit and stuff like that. Let's see, over here we have a little bigger pile of dirt. And this is easier to shape with your fingers since it has so much. Let's see here. You see here, there's a lot of texture. It's like 1/2 centimeter thick. But here, it's much easier to go in and sculpt it with your fingers. I use my fingers a lot. And just, like, if there's too sharp, like this. Oh, sorry. Let's see if I find another one. Like here. It's really sharp. And which is fine in this, because maybe it's been raining beforehand and it's dried up. But something like this, I'm going to zoom you out. And here I see it's not reaching the end. So I'm just making sure that it does. So when I butt it up against next tile, it won't matter so much. So there you go. First part, first road, getting the next step. So I'm gonna do this to all of my roads, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Okay, so I'm done with all these tiles. I'm putting some textured caulking on them. And as you can see, these have started to dry, so they turn quite a lot darker. And here are the last ones I made. My caulking mix got finished. I had to make some more, and I dropped the black paint, so these are really very much darker. A tip while doing this that I figured out while doing it is having a bottle of spray water or spray bottle of water next to you, so that you can spray your mixture. Just to, at least for me today, it kept getting dry, so it became too crumbly to work with. But this is how they're looking overall, and they're drying. But I'll be back when they're dry. Bye. Hi there, and welcome back. Today I'm gonna finish up this stage of the road builds. Sorry if I sound like I have a cold or something. It was all day game day yesterday, so I feel like I'm hungover, even though I don't really drink, only coffee. But my brain is a bit mush, so sorry about that. But I thought I'd finish out doing the textures that I'm gonna do for these, and in the next and hopefully final video in this little series, I will do the painting and finishing details. But I thought I'd show you first of all how these look when they're dried. This is the first batch of caulking sand paste I made, and as you can see, it gives a really nice earthy texture. Let's see if I can get it. You can see here up close. Kind of look like poo, but it's also a really nice texture, and it will be a little bit softer when I put the paint on, I think, since I mostly use heavy body acrylics. Right now it's pretty sturdy. There are some more loose pieces, like the really spiky bits, and I'm thinking the paint will help really well with that. And here you have the last batch I made with the darker caulking mix. Still a nice texture, and you can see all these like wheel tracks, and since this is like an X crossing or T-crossing, or no, not T-crossing, yeah, an X-crossing. You can see the like overlapping wheel tracks here, which is kind of cool. So for my next step in putting excuse me, texture down, I'm gonna be using wood glue, just PVA, ordinary PVA glue. I usually use wood PVA since it is cheap and pretty strong. And cheers, by the way. And I have taken some of my texturing things, like rocks and stuff, and I'm gonna show them to you. This is chinchilla sand. This is a sand that sucks up moisture. So it's kind of like cat sand, but it's really fine. And it's pretty light. This doesn't weigh much. And it gives a pretty interesting texture. So I thought I'd use some of that. Some gravel. This I just picked out outside when they were sanding during winter. Or I picked it up in one of the drawers with sand. So just rocks in different sizes, but not too big. This is bird shell. It's shells that are a mix for birds to eat, so they get like calcium and stuff, which has a really nice, let me show you. It has a really nice, like spiky, nice texture, and I think it works really well with miniatures. This is from a pet shop, and it's aquarium sand in a brown, so it has a bit of a softer, rounder texture. And this is the same thing, but in a bigger texture. I tend to look everywhere for texture and stuff, and usually like these kind of things are really cheap at like your local grocery store and stuff, where you have pet food and stuff. So okay, let's get started. And I will probably get something to dump this in. Give me a second. And then just use it as a mix as I go along when I get some put together. And this is just a lid to a box I have. Put that to the side. So I'm going to start with this X piece. And I have my wood glue. And it's stuck, I think. Put in just a more needle tip type of dispenser. I like it because it makes it easier to dispense and not get big like globs of glue. And of course I have boogers in it, which happens from time to time. Otherwise I think these kind of bottles are pretty great. They don't usually clog up very easily or anything, but I know I've been using it to put texture on my miniatures after, or their bases after painting them, and then I tend to leave it open for a bit while I'm using it. So okay, we have this, and I'm just gonna go in to start with, and you can have a brush if you want to in some water and just have a pot of glue if you don't have like anything like this to give it some ease. And I'm gonna start with the finer textures. So I'm gonna start with the chinchilla sand and the bird shell sand. So I'm just pouring this on. Like so. I'm putting this back. And then I'm gonna go on here with some of these. third sense and pat these down a bit, because these are heavier pieces of texture. So something like that. Pour this back. Okay, so now we got something, give you a bit of close-up, that looks like this. That could be like dirt and stuff just built up in softer mounds. And this will help me when I later want to add, what do you call it? Like tufts and stuff, flower tufts and stuff. So I'm gonna go in with the next size. And as you can see, I'm just adding this a little bit willy-nilly, getting some texture, hopefully everywhere. And I find these pretty good when working with this kind of material, to be able to pour it. I think I'm going to use the shells for the middle part. Okay. Like so. Go in with the shells. Something like that. Maybe add some more sandy texture in some places. And this is just to mix up the textures, so it's not the same type of texture everywhere. Make it more realistic, so to speak. I don't mind that the scale is off a bit or like stuff like that, but I kind of still like you to be able to see pretty easily what it is I'm trying to show you that it is. So okay, now I'm gonna go in, and I don't know, like this, the gravel, I will only use like maybe 1 or 2 pieces. Maybe, and here I'm just dotting, and the same with the bigger pieces of aquarium rubble. So I'm just going in and giving dots of glue. Every here and there. Like so. And I'm gonna start up with this. I'm gonna start off with the bigger pieces. And like I said, these are like sharper pieces of rocks. Once again, texture. It's all I'm after. I'm after texture. Oh, that's too big there. Something like that. And then I'll go in. And for this application, I'll open the jar and just put some in my hand. And put in the, like, rounder types of rocks I have here. That are not super big, but I think the size is enough for what I want the texture to be here. So something like that. So I'll show you a bit of a more close-up of all these textures. And I'll probably show you the dried before I start painting on the next video. So something like that. And you see you have all these different types of sizes and shapes going on that I hope will look really nice when it's done. And also, of course, the glue will shrink as it dries, so it becomes not so moundy, so to speak. So this is what I'm gonna do to all of my pieces as usual. So I will finish this up. I might come back and just show you an overview when I have them on my bed, extra bed, drying. And so if I don't, see you in the next video, and otherwise see you in a bit. Bye. Okay, so I am done putting the last bits of texture on everything. Give you a bit of an overview. I can't get any farther back. And I hope I didn't go overboard. I tried not to and keep it consistent, but you never know. We'll see when we paint it. And I will shake them off and stuff before I paint them, so all the pieces that are actually loose gets not loose. But this is it, and I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get a video up next week because I'm going on vacation on Tuesday. I'm going to my mom, and I won't be filming anything there. But I'll see you. I'll see you when I see you. Have a great day. Bye.